Christianity has different views on childbirth outside of marriage, depending on the denomination. In the Catholic Church, marriage is considered a sacred act and a foundational element of family life, and childbirth outside of marriage is typically regarded as wrong and against the teachings of the Bible. Catholics believe that a child should be born within the context of marriage and a sacred relationship. Similarly, in the Orthodox Church, marriage is also considered sacred and necessary, and childbirth outside of marriage is generally unacceptable. Among Protestants, views can vary. In some Protestant denominations, while marriage is still emphasized as the proper context for childbirth, the views may be more flexible, especially in certain individual or social circumstances. Modern Christian groups, particularly in Western countries, tend to have more moderate views on childbirth outside of marriage, considering social and personal circumstances, although this remains somewhat limited compared to other groups. Globally, the statistics for childbirth outside of marriage have increased in recent years across various countries. In developed countries such as Sweden, France, and Norway, the percentage of births outside of marriage has risen to over 50%. This trend reflects cultural and social changes in these societies, where childbirth outside of marriage is no longer seen as unusual or illegal. In the United States, about 40% of births now occur outside of marriage. These changes indicate social transformations and changing attitudes toward marriage and family. In developing countries such as Mexico and Colombia, the statistics for childbirth outside of marriage are lower than in developed countries, but the trend is still on the rise. In Mexico, around 40% of births occur outside of marriage. This statistic has increased in recent years, especially in urban areas. Social and economic changes, particularly the rise of working women and shifts in social roles, have contributed to this rise. Similarly, in Colombia, approximately 30 to 35% of births occur outside of marriage. As in Mexico, social and cultural changes, especially in urban areas, have led to this increase. Despite the strong influence of Catholicism in both countries, these trends suggest that traditional views are changing. Overall, while Christianity's views on childbirth outside of marriage are typically negative, and marriage is seen as a sacred bond, global statistics reflect cultural and social shifts in many countries, including both developed and some developing nations. These shifts, particularly in Mexico and Colombia, show rising numbers of births outside of marriage, and this trend may continue to grow in the future. If you found this report insightful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more interesting content.